Hello everyone, welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with my rant stroke thought of the day, and it's all about the summer. Things are heating up for the summer if you believe the stories that are doing the rounds in the world of football, certainly from some of the key journalists that cover Newcastle United when it comes to what we may or may not be doing in the summer. So I'm going to get stuck right into this. And this is a story from a journalist who isn't often always the most loved by the Newcastle fan base. He's sometimes been known as the harbinger of doom, and the guy who comes out with a story kind of in the lead up to match day that upsets a few people and rattles a few people. I don't mind him. I think he's quite good. I've met him before as well. He's a very pleasant fellow in all fairness. And I'm going to get stuck right into the article that he's written and what it could mean for Newcastle United in the summer. And it is this piece from the one and only Craig Hope from the Daily Mail, who has wrote a piece for the Daily Mail and said that Newcastle will not allow their best players to leave, even if they miss out on Champions League football. That's a massively strong message coming out of the football club that we're going to pick through this in a minute. But the club are in a strong PSR position, and they will send that robust message to the rivals who want to sign the players. If you want to know who they are, just look at Sky Sports any day of the week and they'll tell you with glee. And he's obviously getting stuck right into that as well. But what would this mean for Newcastle United, and what would it mean for the squad as well? Now, Eddie Howe's talked about that, and in the piece as well, we'll put a link to the piece below to Craig's article. He talks about Eddie Howe, quoting being said, short-term pain for long-term gain. Now, we all know Newcastle United have done nothing, zip, nada, sweet FA in 3 transfer windows when it comes to signing a first-team player. Has it harmed the squad? Absolutely, it really has. We've lost that zip, that freshness. You've got to go look at the Man City game where their January signing banged a hat-trick against us. Yes, it also helped that Newcastle United's defence were as wide open as Sharon Stone's legs and basic instinct. But that's what happens when you bring fresh players into the squad. It gives everybody a bit of a kick, everybody a bit of an energizing zap to the system that goes, shit, this guy's in, I better up my game, I better play better if I want to keep my squad place. And Newcastle don't have that at the minute. More or less, I would say about 7 or 8 of those players know they're probably going to be starting week in, week out. So does it lead to poor performances? Does it lead to complacency? I think it does. It absolutely does in a squad. You have to keep a squad fresh. And if you can't buy, you've got to promote from within, whether it be youth, free transfers you brought in, or whatever it may be. But Newcastle haven't really done any of that. So there is a bit of a malaise around the squad. And even Eddie Howe has been quoted and saying there's a danger of the squad growing stale. And I really hope that isn't the case. He's got a massive decision to make. I'm recording this obviously pre-Forest. That is a huge game. We'll be back with the preview and obviously the live post-match analysis to that game as well. That's a huge game for Newcastle in a really difficult month that hasn't gone very well at the minute, Arsenal aside. We've really struggled in the Premier League. I think we've lost, 3 of the last 4 or something like that? Something needs to change. Something needs to happen. Maybe talk about that in the preview a little bit more detail. But going back to this main point. Now, Newcastle United, the destiny is in our hands really right now. We are still sitting very much in the race for those Champions League spaces. And it's looking very likely that 5th place will get Champions League from the Premier League this season because of the way things are going in European football, with the domestic sides doing very well. And that's massive for the Premier League. But that race for 5th place is not easy. You've got so many teams vying for that position. You've got obviously Bournemouth are up there as well. You've got Man City and us are fighting out. Chelsea's in the mix as well. There is a lot of teams vying for those Champions League positions, and getting Champions League for a lot of these clubs is huge. It isn't just huge because it keeps your star players happy, but it's huge for the revenues as well, the financial revenues. And a lot of these clubs need those financial revenues thanks to the stupid FFP and PSR rules that are in place to keep these players, or you've got to sell them. And that was the worry for Newcastle United, I think, with the star players. We had that PSR fire sale panic, when Anthony Gordon was apparently offered to Liverpool, and Chelsea had wind that Newcastle may listen to offers for Alexander Isak. Thank fuck we didn't sell any of those 2 players, I beg your pardon, because where would we be now without those 2? We did sell Elliot Anderson, which again still sticks in my craw a little bit. I think that was a major mistake by the football club, keeping the likes of Sean and Willock for that matter, and letting Anderson go. He had a much higher ceiling, I think, maybe than the pair of those. Willock's injuries have definitely taken a toll. He's going backwards as a player. And Sean, I don't know what's happened with Sean. He just doesn't look anywhere near the player that he was a couple of years ago. And that's a real shame because he seems like a lovely lad. But we can't just keep him in the squad because he's a lovely lad. He has to start producing on the pitch, and he ain't doing that at the minute. Elliot Anderson has gone to star for Nottingham Forest. He's been superb. He'll be back at St James's Park this weekend. No doubt caused us a lot of bother. It could be him versus Louis Miley, which would be quite amazing for any Geordies to see that battle. And hopefully Louis Miley comes out on top. But Newcastle United, after all of this mess and after all of these hardships and after taken a knee for 3 transfer windows, go into the summer in quite good shape financially. And the stories doing the rounds, certainly amongst all of the leading journalists like Craig, who obviously have sources within the club. It isn't the tea lady or the guy that scrubs the toilet in the fucking Leazes end. These are probably people who do hear a few things that go on, because these journalists have great sources that they build up over time, And the noise coming out of the club is that this summer is going to be a summer where the club gets back on track, where it's a more ambitious summer where we buy players. There's already noises creeping out that apparently Newcastle United believe that a 50 million quid for Brian Mbeumo will be accepted by Brentford in the summer. And we've talked about Brian Mbeumo being or Mbeumo being our number one target for that right wing position. I honestly think two players could transform the starting 11. I really do believe that, with Brian Mbeumo at right wing and a good quality right-sided centre-half with a bit of pace, a bit of movement, a bit of vision about them, whether it be Mark Guehi, whether it be Tomori from AC Milan, those kind of players to sit in there. Because Fabian Schär, for me, is done. He's finito. He's finished. We need to move him on. People are talking about giving him a new contract. I understand to keep him in the squad and that, and maybe wheel him out every 6 or 7, 8 games or a cup game or something like that, maybe. But he can't play week in, week out because his legs aren't there anymore. I'm sorry, they ain't. And Trippier is exactly the same. But going back to the main crux of this article, there has been people sniffing around, smelling blood in the water about Alexander Isak in particular right now. Arsenal, every time you turn on Sky Sports, I went real Geordie, turn on, every time or Irish even, you turn on Sky Sports, they're talking about Isak Arsenal. They can't help themselves. As much as Keith Downing, God bless him, I love Keith, he's been on the channel before, he's a top bloke. Try to defend his colleagues at Sky Sports. I think Keith's waved the white flag now and just basically said, okay, I kind of see your point, because they are just bringing that whole narrative out all the time about Alexander Isak, almost like they think he's too good for Newcastle. He shouldn't play for Newcastle. He deserves better. People are saying he's one of the best strikers in the world right now. And you could argue that is the case. Didn't turn up against Manchester City. Games like that, you need to turn up in, Alex, if you want to be classed as an elite player. I said that in the post-match, aftermath, and I stand by it right now. But he's a phenomenal striker. He's only going to get better. We've already talked about what we can do to try and persuade Alex to stay in the summer. People have even talked about him getting the number 9 shirt if or when Callum Wilson moves on, which could be a real draw for him. He knows what that shirt means to the football club as well. And I'm sure Alex would wear it with pride and bang in loads of goals in that shirt as well. But going into the summer in a good PSR position means that Newcastle don't have to entertain offers for the likes of Alexander Isak, for Anthony Gordon, for Bruno Guimaraes. All 3 of them are on longer-term contracts now. And if somebody wants to buy them, they've got to spend 150 to 200 million quid on Isak. They've got to spend 80 to 100 million on Gordon. They've got to spend 80 to 100 million on Bruno. And I don't think a lot of these clubs who are interested in them are either willing to do it or capable to do that. I mean, some of the laughable reports coming out of La Liga that Barcelona were going to bid 75 million quid for Alexander Isak. Barcelona can barely afford to pay for their fucking breakfast in the morning. They're dining and dashing, but that's skint, these lot. They always find a way to, twist their book somehow to be able to afford these things. But I can't see Alexander Isak being sold at Barcelona for 75 million euro, is what euro was, by the way. So it wouldn't even be pounds. So fucking no chance Newcastle are going to sell Alexander Isak for such a small amount of profit on the 63 million quid that they played for him. No chance whatsoever. He's 120 million plus player, and they will not accept anything less than that. But I'm really happy to hear these messages coming out of the football club, because that has always been my worry, that if we don't get Champions League, these players go scurrying off, to other football clubs to play at the top level. And that's what players want to do. I know people don't want to hear it, but they do. They want to play at the elite level. I still think Newcastle can get Champions League football this season. We need to sort out this current malaise that we're going through. We need to make some difficult choices. Eddie Howe has to make some selection choices. He's got to take Fabian Schär out of the team. He's got to get Louis Miley back in to that midfield ahead of Willock while Joe Litton's absent, because we need some consistency, some quality, just some stability in that lineup. We need protection for Lewis Hall as well when he's up against pace. These things need to be changed. Eddie Howe doesn't need me to tell him that. He should know that already. And the comments he made after the game tells me that he does know that. But we need to make sure that we get through this really difficult month of February, probably the most hardest month we'll have in our entire fixture calendar, to stay in the race for these top 4 positions to get Champions League. Because, again, when you get Champions League, you can go shopping in a much more elite pool of players who can hugely enhance the squad. And yes, the players underneath that level are still good players, but are they better than what you've got? And Keegan always said buy better, and I do believe buying better makes you a better team, allows you to achieve more, allows you to get, into the Champions League positions, get past the group stages, go for trophies. Getting better players allows you to do that. Way back when Keegan was signing all these players with John Hall's money. So John Hall's money, I beg your pardon, John, I nearly took the sale off you there, I beg your pardon, mate. But, when he was signing all those great players, he was signing better than what he had. Got rid of David Kelly, got an Andy Cole, sold Andy Cole, stood in the steps. Oh my God, what are you doing? Les Ferdinand came in, Alan Shearer came in, Ginola came in to replace Scott Sellers. This is what you do. You buy better players than the ones that you have to move up levels. And there's too much sentimentality in this football club. And it does come a lot of it from the manager too. He has to be better. He has to understand that no matter how good a lad that lad is for you, no matter how good of a player he's been over the last 3 years, 3.5 years, his race may be run with the football club and you have to upgrade in that position. And this is all the talk that Newcastle are going to do that this summer, that there's money to do that. People like Brian and Mbeumo as the prime target massively excites me. Even the likes of Kuhn from Celtic, who's a really talented player. I watched him against Bayern Munich as I'm recording this. They're about to play in the second leg in Munich. And he was really, really good, running at top quality Champions League proven players. No fear, quality, dipping inside, outside, quick feet, getting the ball across the box, scored a goal that was disallowed. Looks a good player. He could be 20 million. If Newcastle's savvy and clever in the market, we could go and get players who are Champions League experienced that we didn't have last time we were in the Champions League. And I think that showed. That's why we came out of the group stages, I think, as we did, because the Champions League experience wasn't there. The endeavour was there, and the determination was there, but the experience in those games wasn't quite there. And I'm hoping that does help the lads if they get into the Champions League next season, and certainly in this cup final. Now, we've been a cup final taste of defeat. We should be more experienced, more resilient, more understanding as to what needs to be done to win that trophy. But this is good news coming out of the football club that they're not going to entertain offers for their big players. Now, we all know how football works. If we miss out on the Champions League and somebody comes in and turns Alexander Isak's head or Gordon's head or Tonali's head, I think Tonali's head is less turnable, if that's the right word, because of everything he's been through at the club and the support that he's had from Eddie Howe and the club and the fan base. I think Tonali will almost feel like he owes us a little bit more. So I don't think Tonali will be moving on. But the likes of Bruno, Isak, Gordon, maybe they could be tempted to move on for Champions League football because they feel like it's their time to play that level on a regular basis. Certainly Bruno coming to the peak time of his career. He might want to move on, but the club might want to move Bruno on too, with Miley getting better and better week in, week out, with Tonali and Joe Linton there, maybe a signing or two in the summer. You don't know, maybe Bruno might be a player that's moved on. But this is great news that the club will not entertain getting rid of those star players because we need to build around this squad. The likes of Sven Botman, let's go from the back forward. Sven Botman, Sandro Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, Alexander Isak, Anthony Gordon. These players are paramount to Newcastle continuing this successful evolution and trying to become a mainstay in the top four of the Premier League, trying to become a club that can win trophies regularly, even push for a title challenge one day. We need to keep our best players. And I'm excited to hear that the club are looking to do that this summer. And hopefully all of these rumours of a buoyant summer are going to be true. There's loads of players being linked already. Me and Mark are even going to fire up the rumour has it machine again, even though I spat me dummy out the transfer because I was so pissed off we're not signing anybody. We will be starting to look at player links again and stats and bringing that all back to you as well, because it's exciting to dream again that we might sign a few players. But it's good to see a nice positive article from Craig. He doesn't get a lot of credit for them. So well done, Craig, for that. I will actually be seeing Craig at a talk in this week. So I'm excited to see what he's got to say about this and a few other things as well. If any of you are there, I might see you there and have a pint at the bar with you. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Keep it evermore. Let us know in the comments below what you think about this article from Craig Cope. Are you excited? Are you happy that the club are digging their heels and saying, no, you're not getting our star players. We're not getting rid of them players. They're here to stay. We're going to build a team around them. And are you excited for the summer? Do you think it's going to be as positive as what the journalists are making it sound? Or do you think it's a bit of a smokescreen? We always like to hear from you. Drop us a comment in. Let us know what you think about all of this, these articles, all of the transfer links and everything else. Who do you want Newcastle to sign us up? Who do you think we need and who should we go for? Always like to hear from you. Drop a comment in. We'll do our best to reply and smash subscribe. Help get us that next milestone. We're within, I think, 40 or 50 subs of the magic 10K, which is awesome. We've got a mint prize to give away for the 10K subscriber prize as well. So keep it evermore, guys. Help the channel grow. Like and subscribe. Be a member if you want to be. Do whatever you want. It's a free world. Do whatever you want. Be whatever you want. Thanks for watching. Have a belter, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.